Hey YouTube, this is Acepincter. I hope you enjoyed last week's video. It was about creating small patterns. Well, it wasn't entirely about that. It was about what one viewer put it, using the scientific method to learn and to get better with music and songwriting. And what I demonstrated was limiting yourself in a certain way in order to get better at that which you're limited to. Alright. I suggested at the end of the tutorial that you should build a complex but very small piece of music. In fact, it's ideal if you can just limit yourself to one particular pattern, because things get very easy when you're working with one pattern. I can see all of my piano rolls. I can see all of my automations, right? You know, in the menu here in the piano roll, and I'm constantly listening to the same piece, so I'm very aware of what might be too loud, too quiet, or what's irritating to the ear if something's too strong in the high frequencies and so on. So, yeah, let me start this way. I'm going to ask you to listen to a piece here and tell me what you think about it in a comment or whatever. Don't just listen to this and tell me whether you like it or not, but tell me if you think something's missing. Tell me if you think it's too loud, if it makes your ears buzz, if you hear one particular frequency that stands out as wrong or one note that's not right. Let me know, because that's what I'm constantly doing. I'm listening always to my music and trying to find ways to make it better. Alright, so I'm inviting you to share in the experience. This is a pattern that I've been working on for a hell of a long time. It's not yet released, and to be honest, every time I start working on this piece, it just starts, I find something to add to it or subtract to it that makes it better. And to be honest, all told, I've been working on this. There's two patterns here in the mix, pattern 1 and pattern 2, and all told I've spent a good 8 hours combined on both of these patterns, just these two patterns. This is what it sounds like, guys. Alright, so you notice that I'm only alternating between patterns 1 and 2. Alright, I've made a few different variations on the theme. They're still pretty close to the same idea, the same chords, the same key, just slight variations on emphasis on the latter half or the forward half, maybe a change to the way the trumpet plays out and so on. And I've got one pattern down here which kicks on the trumpet. That's all it does. So essentially two patterns here. The entire first half of that was all two patterns with a gradual fade in using a filter in the main automation. Alright, now starting with a pattern as complex as pattern 1, you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instruments playing here, plus a drum and a whole bunch of automation. It's almost as though you're starting in the middle of your song and you have to build up to it. Now, I like that idea because that's exactly the way I use this technique to build my song. When it comes to arrangement time, what I like to do, if I right click on a pattern in the playlist, I have this option here which you can't see, but you'll see it when you do it. It's called split by channel. That's what split by channel does. Not only does it separate my tracks by the instruments so that I can see that yes, there must be a bass line playing in pattern 1, or what was pattern 1. I have drums here, flute here, layer there, whatever, and so on. It labels them for you. That's really helpful. I'm going to do the same with what's now pattern 8, and I can see immediately all of my music is visually represented here by a channel. So if I want to wait and bring in the bass on bar 7, I can do so very easily just by clicking and clicking and removing. I can do the same with pretty much everything. In fact, if I want to, I can bring in one instrument at a time, and it's remarkably simple to do so when you're using this fashion. There it is. It's done. So now my song will come in one instrument at a time, and the arrangement is very simple. When you start in the middle and you use a technique like this, arrangement becomes very simple. Alright, but you don't have to do it this way. This is just a technique that I found is pretty useful for giving me a very good sound. Now the real reason is because you're spending so much time within one pattern, and I know that when you're working with one pattern over and over and over again, it gets very repetitive, but you have to get used to that as a music producer. Now what I'm doing here is when I'm listening to my music, and let me just put these back here. When I'm listening to my music, what I'm checking for is the EQ. You see that I brought up that EQ for you to listen to or to see while I was doing the mix, but this is what's going on here. I'm watching this, and I want to make sure that every bar on this midline gets covered. I can see that when the bass hits, I'm definitely getting a lot of spiking right here, and that's good. And I have no problem here. Actually, if I were to analyze my piece, let's do that. When it kicks in right about here. Just 3 bars. Now, I just analyzed over the course of 3 bars, and what it's telling me is my averages of frequencies. It's telling me that to better counteract my loud bass, I might have to drop these frequencies a bit, and because I don't have enough volume in my treble, my brilliance region, I might have to adjust my EQ up higher. Now I don't know if that really sounds the way I want it to sound. You guys tell me whether you like it better that way or not. But if I flip the mix into reverse, that'll give me the idea of where my volume is and where my quiet parts are. So yeah, I might really need to do something past 12 kilohertz to boost the missing frequencies here, because there's not enough. My EQ has to counteract what's missing by boosting, and it has to counteract what's too loud by cutting over here. So when I look at something like this and it tells me quite a bit of information here, what I might do is find my bass and say, okay, bass, you're just too loud at about 50 to 100 hertz. So I'll take something like this and just kind of cut this right about maybe there. Yeah, probably just like that would be a perfect way to cut it. And I might look at anything that's in the high end, like my cymbals, or my drum track usually has a lot of high frequencies. This E flute instrument, which is kind of going crazy on its own peak controller. Oh, while I'm here, you might notice that just about every instrument that I'm working with has got EQ in some fashion or another, and it's usually as a response to what I'm witnessing in my master EQ. If it's telling me that there's something way too loud up here, then I'm going to find that instrument and I'm going to say, okay, cut. I'm going to counteract that. And if it's telling me that there's something, I don't have any volume here in this region, well, I'm going to either add a few instruments to fill that gap in, or I'm going to find out whatever instrument is taking up the majority of my space, and I'm going to boost the hell out of that region. Get it? So this is why an EQ like this, especially a feedback-giving graphic EQ like the EQ UO, is really handy to have. Its analyze mode is going to tell you a lot about your song in terms of what's missing and what it has too much of. Whoops. Boobies. I just wanted to check my time. I've only got about 30 seconds left, so I wanted to give you some more tips here. Before you do a split by channel, do a clone and try to make at least 4 variations of your master pattern here for the sake of making it easier to arrange later. Change everything. Change the volumes, change the pattern, change the melodies, and it'll be a lot easier to arrange a final and interesting composition. Acepincter out!